Charlie Hudson just watched his career hang by a thread, and it wasn't even his own decision that put it there. Rex, the dog who found a killer, who saved a child's life in the same breath, was told he wasn't welcome back. Not a medal. Not a thank you. A flat rejection from the K9 unit that should have known better. But what happened right after that rejection is the part nobody saw coming, because Charlie didn't walk away. He didn't accept the answer. He made a choice that put everything on his own shoulders, and it changed the entire direction of his partnership with Rex forever. The room felt heavier than usual the moment Joe walked in with the verdict. Everyone could feel it before a single word was said. Charlie had spent the whole day chasing down leads, pushing Rex past his limits, and in the end it worked. Rex found the killer. Rex saved a kid. By any normal standard, that should have been the end of the story, a clean win, a happy ending, maybe even recognition for both of them. But nothing about this situation was normal, and Joe's face said everything before his mouth even opened. Charlie didn't wait to hear the details. He already knew something was wrong. He told Joe flat out that he didn't care what the decision was, because he wasn't letting anything happen to Rex. That single line said more about Charlie than any medal ever could. This wasn't about rules or procedure to him. This was about loyalty to a partner who had just proven, one more time, that he belonged exactly where he was. Joe tried to calm him down, told him to just listen. But Charlie was already bracing for bad news, and for good reason. Then it came. The K9 unit would not reinstate Rex under any circumstances. No exceptions. No second chances. Just a hard no, delivered like it was final. Charlie's reaction was instant. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Rex had just saved a kid's life. Rex had just tracked down his own partner's killer. And instead of a medal, instead of the recognition that should have followed a case like that, the unit slammed the door shut completely. For a moment, it looked like the story was going to end there, with Rex cut off for good, with Charlie left standing in a room full of people who had already made up their minds. But Joe wasn't finished. There was more to the decision, something nobody in that room expected to hear. Rex wasn't going back to the K9 unit. That part was true. But there was a condition attached to it that changed everything. The unit had agreed to let Rex be partnered directly with Charlie. Not through the department in the usual sense, not through the normal chain of command, but personally, directly, tied to Charlie alone. That meant Rex would be Charlie's responsibility every single hour of every single day. No backup system, no shared oversight. Just Charlie carrying the full weight of what happens next. Joe made it clear this wasn't a permanent arrangement either. It was a trial. It was subject to review. One mistake, one bad call, one moment where things went wrong, and the whole arrangement could be pulled apart just as fast as it was put together. Charlie agreed without hesitation, but the tension in the room didn't disappear. Even after the decision was made, Joe made sure everyone understood something important. She wasn't comfortable with any of it. Not the arrangement, not the risk, not the responsibility being placed on one person's shoulders. That discomfort is exactly what makes this moment so important for understanding where Charlie and Rex's partnership goes next. This wasn't a celebration. It wasn't a victory lap. It was a fragile agreement built on trust that could break at any moment. And the pressure on Charlie just multiplied in a way nobody expected walking into that room, walking out of that room. Charlie understood exactly what he had just signed up for. This wasn't a formality. This wasn't a simple stamp of approval that let him keep working with Rex like nothing happened. Every single person in that department now had their eyes on him, waiting to see if this arrangement would hold or fall apart within the first few days. The pressure wasn't loud, but it was everywhere. Sitting in the way people looked at him when he walked past. In the way conversations paused a beat too long whenever Rex trotted by his side. Mark Hudson, Charlie's own father, had built a legacy in that department that Charlie carried whether he wanted to or not. Being handed a responsibility like this, tied so personally to his name, meant that any mistake wouldn't just cost him his own credibility. It would ripple outward, touching everyone who had ever trusted a Hudson to make the right call. Charlie knew that. He didn't need anyone to say it out loud. It sat in his chest the moment Joe finished laying out the terms of the trial. Rex, meanwhile, had no understanding of politics, or procedure, or trial periods. To Rex, none of that mattered. What mattered was that Charlie was still there, still steady, still the person who showed up every single day without fail. That loyalty is exactly what made the entire arrangement so complicated. Everyone in the department could see how strong the bond between them was. But strength alone wasn't enough to satisfy the people who wanted guarantees, procedures, and paperwork that a dog and his handler couldn't easily provide. Sarah noticed the shift almost immediately. She had worked alongside Charlie long enough to read him without needing him to explain anything. The way he carried himself in the days after the decision told her everything. He wasn't relieved. He wasn't celebrating. He was calculating every move, second-guessing situations he normally would have handled without a moment's hesitation. That kind of pressure changes a person. Even someone as steady as Charlie, Mako Nian, always sharp with details most people overlooked, picked up on something else entirely. She noticed how closely certain people in the department were watching Rex's every move, almost waiting for a slip-up they could point to. It wasn't paranoia. It was real. Some people in that building had never agreed with the decision to let Rex stay involved in cases at all. And now that he was tied directly to Charlie instead of the K-9 unit, those same people had a much easier target if anything went wrong. Kevin Hancher tried to keep things light, the way he usually did, but even he couldn't ignore the shift in atmosphere. Cases that used to move forward with simple approval now came with extra scrutiny whenever Rex was involved. Every report had to be more detailed. Every action had to be justified. It wasn't said outright, but the message was clear. One mistake, and the trial would end exactly the way some people in that department were hoping it would. Justin Kelly, watching from a slightly different angle, understood the bigger picture better than most. This wasn't just about Rex proving himself again. It was about Charlie proving that trusting his instincts over rigid procedure wasn't reckless. It was about showing that the bond between a handler and his partner could hold up under pressure that most people never had to face. If Charlie failed, it wouldn't just be his loss. It would confirm every doubt the skeptics in that department had been holding onto for months. None of this stopped Charlie from doing his job. If anything, it pushed him harder. He started paying closer attention to the smallest details in every case, double-checking things he normally would have trusted on instinct alone. Rex adjusted right alongside him, picking up on the shift in energy the same way he always did. Dogs read people better than people read each other, and Rex could feel that something bigger than a single case was riding on how the next few weeks unfolded. The trial period wasn't just a technicality. It was a countdown. Every day that passed without incident brought them one step closer to permanence, but every day also carried the risk of the one mistake that could end it all. Charlie knew that better than anyone, and so did the people quietly waiting to see which way it would go. The first real test came sooner than anyone expected. A case landed on the desk that required exactly the kind of instinct-driven, high-pressure work that made Charlie and Rex such an effective team in the first place. But this time, every decision Charlie made carried extra weight. This wasn't just about solving the case anymore. This was about proving, in real time, that the trust placed in him wasn't misplaced. From the outside, it looked like business as usual. Charlie briefed the team. Rex waited by his side with the same calm focus he always carried into a new assignment, and the investigation moved forward the way it always had. But underneath that familiar routine, everyone in the room understood the stakes had changed. A single wrong move now had consequences that went far beyond the immediate case. Joe made it a point to stay closely involved. Not because she doubted Charlie's ability, but because she had staked her own credibility on approving this arrangement in the first place. Every update Charlie gave her carried an unspoken subtext. Was this working? Was this the right call? She didn't say it outright, but Charlie could feel the question sitting behind every conversation they had. Rex, unaware of any of the politics swirling around him, did what he always did best. He followed scent trails with the same precision that had already saved a child's life once. He picked up on details that human investigators would have missed entirely. Watching him work, it was easy to forget that his entire future in that department was hanging on how the next few hours played out. Sarah worked alongside Charlie on parts of the case, and she noticed something important. He wasn't hesitating because he doubted Rex. He was hesitating because he understood that any misstep, even one that had nothing to do with Rex directly, would be used as evidence against the arrangement. That kind of second-guessing wasn't like him, and it worried her more than she let on. As the investigation deepened, the pressure only intensified. New information came in that complicated the case further, the kind of complication that would normally be handled with quick, instinctive decisions. But now, every choice had to be weighed against how it would look if things went wrong. Charlie found himself caught between trusting his gut and protecting the fragile trial that kept Rex by his side. Mako flagged something critical partway through the investigation, a detail that shifted the direction of the entire case. It was the kind of break that came from paying close attention, the same kind of attention Mako had been paying to the people watching Rex and Charlie a little too closely. Her instincts proved just as sharp here, and it gave Charlie the confidence to push forward with a plan that relied heavily on Rex's tracking abilities. That plan worked. Rex picked up the trail exactly where the team needed him to, moving with the same sharp focus that had defined every successful case before this one. Charlie stayed close, reading Rex's body language the way only a true partner could, translating every subtle shift into information the rest of the team could use. It was a reminder of exactly why this partnership mattered so much in the first place. But even with the case moving in the right direction, Charlie couldn't fully relax. He knew that solving one case wouldn't erase the doubts some people in that department were holding onto. It would help, certainly, but it wouldn't be enough to guarantee that the trial period ended the way he needed it to. There was still a long way to go, and everyone involved understood that the real test wasn't this one case. It was whether Charlie and Rex could keep performing at this level day after day, without a single serious slip. As the days stretched on, the pattern became clear to everyone watching closely. Charlie wasn't just doing his job. He was building a case, quietly and consistently, for why this arrangement deserved to become permanent. Every successful outcome added another layer of proof, but proof wasn't the only thing at stake. Trust had to be rebuilt, not just in Rex's abilities, but in the entire structure Jo had approved against her own comfort level. Jo's discomfort never fully disappeared, even as case after case closed successfully. She had a responsibility that went beyond Charlie and Rex individually. She had to answer for this decision if things went wrong, and that reality shaped every conversation she had with Charlie during this period. She pushed him harder than usual, asked more questions than usual, and made sure every report reflected exactly what happened without room for interpretation. Mark Hudson, watching his son navigate this pressure, understood something that most people in the department couldn't fully grasp. This wasn't just professional pressure for Charlie. It was personal in a way that went back years, tied to everything the Hudson name represented in that building. He didn't step in to make things easier, because he knew Charlie needed to prove this on his own terms. But the weight of that unspoken support meant something during the hardest stretches of the trial. Rex, through all of this, remained the one constant nobody could shake. Cases got harder, scrutiny increased, and the pressure on Charlie kept climbing. But Rex showed up exactly the same every single day. That consistency became one of the strongest arguments in favor of making the arrangement permanent. A trial period built on proving reliability needed exactly this kind of steady performance, and Rex delivered it without fail. Sarah continued to watch from close range, offering support in the moments Charlie needed it most, even when he didn't ask for it directly. She understood that this wasn't just about Charlie proving Rex belonged. It was about Charlie